how to hate someone.
People they hate. And I'm just like, bruh, it's not that deep.
Just keep it moving.
Yeah, for real.
So here we are again, we meet again.
Yeah.
So let's go back to what we both do.
Yeah.
We already probably know what we both do, but
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I work, well I say I don't really have a job title because I'm sort of fingers in different pies.
Big creative mood.
I
was actually thinking the same. I was like, when they were like, introduce yourself, I was like, fuck, what do I do?
I was like, what is my job title? I don't know. I was Googling, what do you call someone who does
Okay, well, how do you
XYZ?
define yourself? What would
So
you say?
I just say I'm a creative, freelance creative. So I work in a diversity and inclusion space, but more so around language and terminology. Fashion is a big thing, so content creation, also working with fashion brands, that's on and off camera. I illustrate, so I do art, and I like to combine more storytelling with art, so a lot of my diversity inclusion consultancy work is through art, so everything's art based and that kind of stuff, and sometimes it's stuff like this, talking and just vibes. So what about yourself? How would you describe
Well,
it?
I'm Simran, but you knew that. Similar to you, I think I'm kind of struggle with defining my job title, but again, similar to you, I do lots of different things. I write, I predominantly write on like opinion.
I forgot to mention writing for myself. That's one thing as well.
Yeah, I write on like opinion and experience and identity. I'm currently writing a book. And I also love storytelling, so like I love exploring the stories around food. I'm like working on a couple of projects around the stories around food because, I mean, we can probably get into this later, but I feel like in society food is often treated like it exists in a vacuum and it really doesn't. There's like food is in the middle and actually there's so much around it.
There's so much, like just a sense of belonging even around food, a sense of comfort. It's not like your comfort foods, but foods that bring you like, oh, this reminds me of something, or nostalgia. Or
and then I also like model and work with brands as well and consult. So I guess I don't know how to describe it because I do so much as well. I guess it's similar.
It is. But no, we do similar stuff. But I don't know. What do we call ourselves? I don't know. Is it polymath?
How would you define your identity? Like if people were like, what are you?
Me, I'd say I'm a heterosexual, cis, straight woman. But I'd say this is the thing I'm trying to learn now in terms of my heritage and that side. So
I guess that's what
in terms of identity, if someone was to ask, I'd say heterosexual, cis woman. In terms of my heritage, I was very reluctant to say Kashmiri before, but now I'm like very comfortable saying I'm Kashmiri. But also, I don't really present myself as brown. I'd say I'm a Muslim before I'm brown.
Okay.
So that whole kind of identity with brownness or South Asianness hasn't really sat with me for a long time. So I'm like,
I guess because it's such a vast continent that I feel like I feel like it can be quite reductive sometimes.
I think that's another tick box. So I'd rather just be individual when if someone was to ask, oh, where are you from? What's your ethnicity? What's your sexuality? So I'd just be like, heterosexual, straight, cis, Kashmiri.
Because I struggle as well because I'm like, I think that London and being from London is such a big integral part of my like identity. I mean, it's influenced like the way I dress, the music I listen to, the friends I have, the like places I go. But then also at the same time, I always say like a Malaysian Punjabi because I think the Punjabi diaspora is so big and
massive.
And especially in Malaysia, it's such a particular type of culture. Like in our Gurdwara, we'll eat like noodles as well as like dal and roti and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's a very, very specific kind of culture, and like the Punjabi and Sikh community in Malaysia is also so tight knit. So I feel like I just relate to it so much more. I think maybe because it gives me that sense of family. But then I'm like, how do I fit in like Malaysian, Punjabi, Londoner, like?
And how do you say that in a sentence when it's someone like?
Because it's also like, where are you from?
But they don't really ask you. They just want a quick answer. So you're like, I'm like.
When someone asks you that question, what do you say?
I'm like, it depends who's asking. So I'm just like, if it's somebody that's white British, I'll be like, yeah, I'm from here, like I'm British, from the north, West Yorkshire. So I'm like, that's what I tell them. But if it's somebody like, I'd say from an ethnic, I put that in quotations, background, I say that, oh, I'm Kashmiri from the Pakistan side, which is then being like, oh, Kashmir is just Kashmir. So normally I just say that, but it depends who's asking, because the where are you from questions like, do you mean my ethnicity or do you mean my nationality?
Nationality, yeah.
And I do always ask that when someone's asking, just so I don't go off on a tangent as well.
Why do you feel like it depends on who's asking?
I don't know. I think because sometimes when I've said I'm British has been the wrong answer for people. So they're like, no, but where are you from? And it's like, I've just given you my answer, but that answer's never really been good enough. So then I've got to expand. So it's kind of like, it depends who's asking for me to, whether I emphasize my point or not of where I'm from. What about yourself?
What, when I get the where am I from question? I think, kind of similar to you, depends on who's asking, but most times I probably would just say I'm from Wembley.
Yeah.
Because also that is
such a
big part of my identity too.
That's a very London thing.
Yeah, like, I guess that is like the benefit of being asked that in London as well. Because when I'm abroad, like when I'm in Malaysia and I meet my cousins' friends, they'll be like, I'll just be like, oh, I'm from London. So.
See, because if I'm from like the north, like where in the north, West Yorkshire, where in West Yorkshire?
Yeah.
Bradford. So it's like really just like, I don't know, but I say a lot of people that are from London state their boroughs and they're like, I'm from Wembley or I'm from this. I'm from this.
That's true actually.
But I don't know, I think.
But I think it's like I think that we're very focused on having like one fixed answer all the time, and I think that actually, like, context change, like you said, like the people you talk to change, and I think that identity is always something that's so fluid. I'm sure if I went and lived in New York for 5 years, I'd probably consider myself like partially New Yorker. New Yorker too. So like, I don't know, I just think that the less resistance we have to like the idea that identities are fluid and change, the easier it becomes to answer that question. But also like not ignoring the fact that, like, you know, we live in like Brexit is Brexit kind of country. So.
That comes to you, be like, oh,
for real.
There we go again. No. But it's interesting. No, I think the way from question ever since I've been young is just like, I've always said, it's weird because I've always said, yes, I'm from the UK, but as I've got older, I've realised it's become a lot more, you've got to explain it a bit more, but not all the time. It's just like, you feel like you need to explain it.
But I wonder if that's like a Londoner thing versus like not like living in London for many years, because I think like I was saying before, I relate with being from London. I do not claim the rest of the UK because
I'm representing the north. I'm representing West Yorkshire.
So then like, because I know that there is like such like a London bias, I guess, almost sometimes.
There's a stereotype, but I'm gonna say I don't think it's played to the stereotype ever since I've been living here. But in terms of representing your own, what does representation mean to you then?
Oh God, I feel like that's such a big question. But I think as I've got older, I would say that representation to me just means being comfortable in being my complete authentic self and not feeling like I have to play up to people's expectations of me or like just do things that maybe people expect me to do because I'm like a brown woman, because I'm a Punjabi woman, because I'm like a hyper visible woman. So I think that once you are able to showcase yourself in a more authentic way, that naturally leads to representation for so many people, because you can't represent everybody as well, and you can't represent everybody perfectly. So you can only what's the word?
Organically, authentically.
Resonate. You can only resonate with the people who somewhat relate to your experience in whatever capacity that may be. For me, it might be like being Punjabi or being Malaysian or like fatherlessness, like so many things. So I think also, and I also think becoming comfortable with the fact that you can't do a perfect job all of the time, and then like hopefully by being yourself, you like then get opportunities, and then that's like an opportunity to bring other people in to then open the door for like other people to get represented too. I think that's the definition that I have become comfortable with over the last few years.
No, same. I'd say like for me, like I don't know, like I've never really bothered. I've cared, but like the on-screen representation has never really bothered me. Like that to me is like I've never been a person But I used to be, but I want to see more people that look like me. But now that I don't really care about that. Now I just care. Yeah, because I care about more behind the scenes. I care about who's telling these stories.
I think both are important.
Both are important, yeah.
But like, for example, like in brand work, have you not found that like you're the only brown person maybe on set in front of the camera to fulfill their quota, but then there's like a non-diverse team behind the scenes, so then your story gets warped.
That's exactly the problem. That's exactly the problem. So for me is I'd say my focus has shifted behind the scenes for us to tell our own stories, for it to be then transparent and organic on camera. And it's like, then we don't become the token black or brown. We don't become the token girl here and there. I think when we have an army of us behind the scenes, there's not going to be that tokenism that we see, because there's going to be a level of intersectionality, there's going to be a level of diversity of thought. And I think, like, I do care, don't get me, I do care about it. I care that it's done properly. Like, I don't care how much it is, but I care when it's done properly. Because I think when it's like, let's say just brown in general, there's always a stereotype of Asians doing Asian things.
Yeah, I agree.
And Asians, just because we're brown doesn't mean we need to be doing brown things. We work in fashion.
Also, what does like doing brown things mean, you know? In fashion, is it just like looking like Asian bridal? Do you know? Yeah.
We're much more than Asian bridal. And I think working in fashion for both of us is like, oh, why don't you come in some Asian wear to this event, or why don't you wear something like, do you know what I mean? It's like, but hang on a minute, that's part of my identity, but I don't identify with
Girl,
that.
If I told you this one story, I was on, okay, story time. I was on set with this big brand, big global brand, guys, yeah.
And we're not naming any names now.
Listen, I can name names after when the cameras are off.
Okay, the cameras are off, yeah.
And like, this was my old agent, so like perhaps there was like a bit of miscommunication on their part too. And like I turn up to the shoot, and then they're like, yeah, everybody has like identity look, like, you know, like I don't know, everybody's look is like I don't know, like in line with their identity or whatever, something like that.
But how do they know your identity?
And also, so then I was like, okay, cool, like maybe they've looked at my Instagram and they've seen that like I'm into trainers, I'm into like streetwear, blah blah blah, like maybe that's like my lane for this shoot or whatever.
Yeah.
Bruh, tell me why I get there, and then they freaking literally got like bindis, knots, like the tikkas, like they were trying to get me to, it was literally the worst shoot of my life.
You know
I think
what,
about
I'm
it and I cringe so much.
Surprised.
But then also it's like the stylists often, because they're like non-ethnic, the stylists are so
Eurocentric,
like rigid in the fact that like this is my vision and like you have to
fulfill
my vision. I'm just like, shut up, because that's
worse.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't on this. I was working behind the scenes. I just came in like just whatever I was doing, like monitorings and stuff. And there was a shoot going on. It was a diversity model. I'm going to say that. But the only brown girl that put in Asian wear, everybody else was in Western clothing. And I said to the girl, "Why the hell are you in this?" She goes, "Because they want me to be in it." And it doesn't make sense because all the other girls are in jeans, sneakers, trainers, but the shoot doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I just remember being like, no, just don't wear that. Yeah, and she got changed back into her jeans and whatever she was wearing and did this shoot, and no one questioned it. But it's like, man, we don't, just because we are from a certain demographic doesn't mean we need to be, even when you go back home, nobody's walking around in a sari all day. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Last time I went back to Pakistan, it was like, everyone's like dressed very much similar to how I am now.
Yeah.
It's not, I think Western media definitely portrays it in a certain way.
Yeah.
But this is where I guess the importance of the right representation or the right voices behind the scenes and then that transparent on camera is important.
Who was the first person that you remember being like, this is the first time I feel represented on TV? Like the first brown person that you saw.
It wasn't even brown. It was Benjamin Beckham. It was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
It was even a person. It was that whole dialogue of that film. It was Benjamin Beckham. I remember when I saw that because I was so into football when I was younger. I still play sometimes. I was so into football. I was like very much, and when I saw Jessie and Benjamin Beckham, I was like, yo, that's a bit of me. Like, it's so funny. What about you?
I was like a little emo kid growing up. So like, so my the first person, like I think his name is like Tony Lal or something from No Doubt.
Oh my
and then there's like one brown guy in this band called Sum 41. Oh my god, I feel so. This is such a throwback. There's this brown guy in this band that was called Sum 41, and I remember watching like MTV Rocks or something, and then the music video came up, and I think he was drumming or playing guitar. I can't remember. And I remember just watching the TV and being like, oh my god, like what the hell, like the brown people like can be in the band, like oh my god, my dreams like can finally come true. And then after that I also vividly remember watching Jamila Jamil on T4.
Oh my god, T4,
I'm not gonna lie, after that I did go and get Fringe Cut.
Yeah, I remember T4 because I remember like obviously like recently in terms of Instagram a lot of more people know Jamila Jamil, and I'm like, I used to watch her on T4.
Yeah, like that's, I remember from like 10 years ago, I don't really, so
so good.
That's who I would say.
But yeah, I'd say in terms of, but growing up, I never really thought about, ooh, I want to see people that look like me. It never came to mind.
I think I agree, but then I think like that's why when I watched like MTV and stuff and saw, like that's why I was so shocked, because it didn't even occur to me that it was a possibility.
Yeah.
As opposed, and then so when it happened, I was like, whoa, like I don't know, it just opened my eyes so much. Whereas now I think we're a lot more. Because there are new media types like social media and stuff, like traditional media, it wasn't as accessible. Yeah. So I guess like now because it's so accessible, people kind of expect it because it's already so around us.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be hard to find.
So do you want to talk to me a bit about your style and what informs it?
So my style, I don't know, I had to describe it. I can be very girly, but not your conventional. Well, to be fair, what is it? I don't know labels. Let's say societally speaking, girly like dresses. I don't wear dresses or skirts unless it's for a special occasion. However, dresses I've recently started to wear on occasion. But I'd say my style is more androgynous. It's not masculine. It's not feminine. It's just my style, you know. But I think I dress more for my mental health. So I've always said we care so much about what we put in our bodies. We don't care enough about what we put on, and that fabric and that touch to skin and how that makes us feel. So whenever I wear a lot of suits, like you'll catch me in a blazer or a suit quite a lot. If anybody catches me either in town or central, I'm wearing a suit. For no reason, just because I like wearing a suit. But I think that power of the suit or a blazer brings me something that no other item of clothing does. I can't quite describe it. It just brings me a bit of security. And I think dealing with my condition that I have, because I like looser fits and oversized fits, that nobody can tell anything about my body. So I choose how I want to dress, whether it's oversized or whether I choose to wear something fitted. That's my kind of choice on how I want to feel that day or how confident I feel that day. But yeah, my style is just, I guess, more for my mental health. But what about you? How would you describe your style? How do you dress?
For the most part, I'd say kind of similar to you. I prefer very oversized things, but I think that's more just from a like, I just don't like men like heckling me and like looking at my body and just anything like that. So I tend to like wear very oversized stuff on like a day-to-day.
Does that stop them though?
Huh?
Does that stop them heckling though?
I think it's just more for like my own peace of mind and like I also just feel more comfortable like for the most part. But then I would say like I have tried to be more like girly glam.
Try doesn't emphasize on that.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I think I always prioritize like my comfort over anything and like feeling good. But like it changes day to day.
Yeah, being a woman in the industry, does that mean anything to you? Or if it does, what does it mean to you?
I think because the industries I tend to work in are very women focused, like fashion and beauty, I think it's not something that I've had to be hyper aware of all of my life. I think I was more hyper aware of it when I was a model and like the photographers were male or the stylists were male, and I felt quite vulnerable in that situation. But I think like as I've transitioned out of the modeling industry into like more writing, more consulting, and I have the privilege of being surrounded predominantly by women, like all of my agents are women, everyone who works at that agency is a woman. Working in beauty, a lot of the PRs who I tend to work with are women. I find it very comforting because I think I just feel safe and I don't have an additional thing to worry about in terms of like feeling vulnerable on set or something like that, because I think I think this is probably coming down to like me just having so much faith in like my agents and knowing that they have my back. So I always have that like security blanket under me, which I think cannot be overstated when you're self-employed, when you work for yourself, kind of thing.
I agree. I really resonate with that. I think.
But I'm sure, sorry to interrupt, but I'm sure if I worked in slightly different industries, my experience would be very different. It's like I'm also very hyper aware of that I have the privilege of being in like being like predominantly in beauty and fashion.
No, I agree. I think I'm very similar. My agent's a woman. I've got, again, the agency I'm with is majority women. And they're amazing. Everyone's amazing, even the industry I'm in. I'd say I'm in fashion, but a lot of the people I speak to are however they may identify, whether non-binary, male, female. But it's mainly, I'd say, women around me. And that itself is really comforting because, again, fashion is very catered towards women. So when you're in that industry, like, I've never really double thought, oh, I'm a woman, you know, I need to work certain times harder. I don't think that's impacted me as much because I've always, again, been in similar spaces where there's that safety blanket under you. But again, I can say different industries, I know it's hard.
Yeah, I think because I compare it to when I was in the modelling industry and I was so hyper aware of being like a brown woman, being like at a casting and there not being many other ethnic women and stuff like that. To now, I think because the industry has changed so much since then, don't get me wrong, there's still so much more further to go. But because I think I compare it to like when it was just beginning and it was so fresh. Fresh and vacant and isolating sometimes. I think because I have that privilege of being able to look back, I feel a lot more safe. And also, I mean, it kind of sucks to say, but like also I think having a team of like white women being my agents and my managers does actually work in my favor because like I think that they're just able to like haggle better and have people have like those harder conversations that I think like when I was having by myself, people just wouldn't take me as seriously. So yeah, like I wish that could change and I wish that it was easier for South Asian women in that sense and like the more business side of things that I think people tend to overlook. But I think that's just something that like I still have to learn more about.
How was everything? All good?
All good, thank you.
Excellent.
Even better now you're here.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Are you ready for some quick fire? All right, I'll go. Shall I go first? Your top 3 dinner guests, dead or alive.
Anthony Bourdain. Oh my God, I've forgotten her name. What is the name of the actress in Notting Hill?
Oh.
I don't know. Oh my God, I forgot her name. I love her so much.
The main actress?
Yeah, and she's in... Does anyone know?
Is she the one in Titanic? Am I thinking of someone else?
Julia, okay,
sorry.
Okay, ask me again. Sorry, guys. I was like, fuck, I love her so much, but I forgot her name.
Wait, that's really embarrassing because I'm like, is she the one in Titanic?
I'm dead. Okay.
It's like, yeah, I don't know.
On to that, guys, sorry. My top 3 dinner guests, dead or alive, Anthony Bourdain, Julia Roberts, and... Didn't. 10. Okay, I'm just going to say... Oh my God, why is there so much pressure? I'm just going to say... Okay, I'm just going to say Obama.
Okay, cool, sweet.
That's not the answer I wanted to give.
And Obama, Julia Roberts, and who's the other one?
Anthony Bourdain.
That's a good table.
Okay.
That's a good table.
I guess.
Good, eh?
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, my turn. Sorry, I'm still getting stressed over the question.
I'm scared about what you're going to ask me.
Who is your inspiration and why?
Ooh. Oh my God, inspiration. See, I don't want to be cliche because I won't say.
Oh my God, I have my third person. Diljit Dosanjh. I freaking love him. Sorry.
Oh
okay.
my God.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, that's it.
That's a very good thing to guess. Okay, wait. My quick fire one.
Okay, who was your inspiration and why?
Okay, so again, I don't want to be cliche. I don't really have a celebrity inspiration, But if I'm gonna look,
It doesn't specify that it has
No?
to be celebrity.
Alright,
It could be
sweet.
anybody.
Okay, without being cliche, I'm gonna obviously it goes back to my family. I think the women in my family are very strong, and I think they inspire me every day. But when I hear stories about my grandfather, like I know if he was alive, I know we'd have the most amazing conversations. But I say when I think of inspiration, is to be on his level of legacy and respect that he's left behind.
Nice.
So yeah. Cool. All right. What was the first career you dreamed of as a kid?
Okay, this is so West, but civil engineer. Basically, the story is
So that's very specific.
Basically, okay, let me tell you the story. Basically, I was in high school and this woman came in to do a talk, and it was supposed to be like empowering women to get into like those kind of careers like science, engineering and stuff. And then there was the civil engineer, and she came and she did a talk, and I was like, sounds kind of sick, and like the job title sounds quite impressive. So then I actually had no idea what she even actually did. And then I went to Malaysia that summer and told all my aunties that I wanted to be a civil engineer, and they were like hella impressed. And like, so now I can't disappoint anyone because all of those aunties are still waiting on me to become an engineer.
You still got time.
So like,
You still got time.
yeah. Describe your ideal morning.
Oh, my ideal morning. My ideal morning is to wake up at 6 a.m., go to the gym, make a smoothie, come back, do some yoga, and just have my shit together. That's my ideal morning, but that's not realistic. Like, that does not happen. I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, I've got so much to do running around.
Yeah.
But my ideal morning would just have everything structured. I'm an organised mess. I get stuff done, but I'm an organised mess. But my ideal morning was to not have any crap coming my way.